Okay, I want to real quickly go over the material that we discussed earlier, where we were trying to figure out some of the basic relationships between the motion of objects moving in a linear fashion when they are um, unraveling from a string that's attached to a pulley. So we looked at things diagrammatically pretty simply because despite the fact that we had a concentric pulley, we were really only looking at a string around one of those wheels, right? So if we have a string wrapped around one of those wheels and hooked to some sort of a mass, um, many of you were thinking, well, we need to know something about the mass and we need to be able to use that to calculate force and torque. And while that's not necessarily irrelevant, it also wasn't part of the constraints. What I told you is you have a ruler and you have a stopwatch, and that's it. And so with just that information, we can actually figure out all of the relevant linear and angular quantities here. The first quantity that I asked you to find was the acceleration of the mass. And so to do that, you had to know that it was that there was going to be a constant net force, and that's the case because it's only experiencing two forces: the force of gravity pulling it down, and the tension in the string pulling it up. The tension never changes. The force of gravity never changes. The acceleration is not going to be equal to free fall acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared because there's tension in the string, but it will be a constant acceleration. So we know that there's going to be a constant acceleration as well. And that means that we know that our kinematic equations will apply. And with a ruler and a stopwatch, we can measure displacement. Displacement is final minus initial position, and we can measure change in time. And one of the parameters that we talked about was that everything was going to start at rest. So that means that our initial velocity is zero. And with that information, this equation, x equals x naught plus b naught t plus 1/2 at squared, allows us to find acceleration. B naught is zero. X minus x0 is our displacement. And if we algebraically solve for acceleration, we get that it's going to be equal to 2 times the displacement divided by time squared. So all we need to do here is measure the displacement and how long it takes for the mass to move that distance. Most of you noticed when you were testing that there was not constant acceleration. The acceleration was all over the place. It's moved and then it's slowed down and then it's sped up. And that's because for a variety of reasons, the net force was not constant. One of the big reasons is that these big clumsy cotton strings that we're using were kind of sticking, so they weren't unraveling smoothly. And that's, you know, we had a theoretical way of approaching this problem, and the reality is different from that. If we were able to smooth out some of those mechanical issues, we would have gotten a much more accurate representation of the acceleration. But in this case, what I was really looking for was your ability to describe what you would measure, how you would measure it, and then how you would use that to calculate the acceleration. And then the next question was, what is the final velocity of the mass? And that is also, we can use our kinematic equations for that. We have this equation: final velocity is initial velocity plus acceleration times time. We already measured time. We already measured acceleration. The initial velocity is zero. So that's going to allow us to easily find the final velocity of the mass. We talked in class about the fact that this mass is moving in a purely true linear fashion, while the concentric pulley is going to be rotating. And the concentric pulley is rotating, and we can think about its motion in terms of angular quantities like angular velocity and angular acceleration and angular displacement, or we can think about the linear motion of a point anywhere on this rotating object. And it's a little weird because the linear motion that we're talking about is sort of in quotation marks because it's moving along a circular path. If we were to look at a point like this point right here, if it moves from here to here as this pulley rotates, that's not a straight line. How do we think of that as linear? Well, we imagine it as a piece of string, and we could take that and straighten it out. So it's linear motion along a curved path. And that's different from angular motion. Angular motion, all of our relevant distances are measured in radians. Linear motion, all of our relevant distances are measured in meters because this point is traveling a certain distance. It is along the curved path, but we could measure it with a string and a ruler. So the question is, how does the true linear motion of the mass relate to the curved linear motion of a point along the edge of this pulley? And what I talked you through in class was the idea that since the string is unraveling as this object moves, the distance that the string unravels is going to be equal to the arc length that the concentric pulley rotates as that string unwinds. In other words, even though the linear motion of the mass is not exactly the same, like it's moving in a straight line, it's not moving in a curved path, it is mathematically going to be equivalent to the motion of a point on the edge of the pulley where the string is attached, which means we can figure out all the relevant angular quantities simply by knowing the distance between the center of rotation and where the string is attached. And to find the angular acceleration, all we need to do is divide the tangential acceleration by r, which is the distance between where the string is attached and the center of rotation. And this quantity right here is the tangential acceleration. The linear acceleration of the mass is the same as the curved tangential acceleration of a point on the edge of the pulley. And then the angular velocity of our rotating concentric pulley is going to be equal to the linear velocity of the mass divided by r. And this is the final linear velocity of the mass. So this would be the final angular velocity of the rotating pulley. And some of you did this in different ways. Some of you looked at the angular acceleration and you used angular displacement. You realized that we have oops, that's a plus, we have a equivalent kinematic equation that we could use for angular um, motion, and you absolutely could have done that. You could find the angular displacement because angular displacement is S over R, and that's the displacement of the mass divided by R. So you could have easily found that. The initial angular velocity was zero, so that's zero. And we have the time, so you could find the angular acceleration in a different way as well. There's lots of different ways you can find these same quantities, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong about it. I think the way that I demonstrated how to do it is probably easiest, but 100% you could find it in different ways. This kind of operation is what I'm going to be expecting you to do. I'm going to be looking for you to be able to show me that you can take a rotating object and think about linear motion at a point on the edge of that rotating object and think about the angular motion of the object as a whole and easily interconvert between those things by making some measurements. And the kinds of measurements that we're going to make really are going to be largely done with rulers and stopwatches, old school type stuff.